Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of Clutchcast. I'm Matt, and I'm here with my good friend and project car, the Z3 Roadster. Now, the Roadster has been fun to drive and relatively easy to work on in the big scheme of things, but there's been one lingering issue that's really been troubling me, and that's the rattle coming from the rear end of the car. Now, I've recorded some video of the rear suspension while I was going down the road. I'm going to go ahead and play it and see if you can hear what I mean. So that's the rattle, and I'm not really sure how to go about fixing it from here, but I've got a few ideas, so I'm going to dig right in. My first thought, after reading forums where people post about similar issues, was that the issue was with the gas tank straps rusting out and losing their padding. And replacing those tank straps was actually quite a big job that involved dropping the whole rear subframe, which I covered in some previous videos. Well, after taking out the whole rear end of the car, replacing all the bushings, tracking down some hard-to-find gas tank straps, refurbishing them, and finally installing them, the rattle was still there. So the next step I took to solve the rattle was to look at the bumper weights, which in some cases can corrode and break down, causing an annoying rattle. To get a good view of the bumper weights requires removing the bumper cover, which means removing the tail lights, the screws attaching the bumper cover to the fender liners, the plastic nuts attaching the bumper cover to the body, the bumper carrier bolt with a T45 Torx bit, and finally the plastic clips attaching the bumper cover to the fenders. Alright, so here we have the rear bumper weights. This is on the driver's side. As you can see, it seems to be in pretty good condition. It looks pretty sturdy. I mean, I can bump it around, and it's not making any kind of noise. It's not making that kind of metal-on-metal noise that I've been hearing from inside the cabin, so probably not this one. Looking over here to this one as well, and same story, just seems like a really solid bumper weight. I'm going to go ahead and take them off anyway, just to see what the driving experience is like and see if that in fact is the noise. Maybe it is, who knows? Okay, so bumper weights are off of the rear of the car. That's what they used to be. Again, they were in pretty good condition. I'm pretty sure that wasn't the cause of the rattle. But now that the bumper is actually off the car, I'm going to go ahead and replace the lights for the license plate in the back here. One of them was burnt out. I'm just going to go ahead and replace both of those while I have the chance. Okay, so this is the first drive after getting rid of the bumper weights on the back of the vehicle. They look to be in great condition, so I'm honestly going to be surprised if this is any measurable difference. But I'm going to try this anyway and see what happens. If it doesn't work, I've got a good idea of what to do next. So let's get started. Again, this usually just manifests itself on the low speed bumps. So I'm going to find some of the bumpiest roads in town and see what happens. Yeah, I definitely still hear it. So yeah, bumper weights didn't work. You'll have to excuse the really dirty car, but I think I know where to look next. It's right back here. And here, I think this is generating some noise. So I'm going to try to take this out now, see what happens. Attempt number 9324 to resolve the rattling in the rear end of the Roadster, but I think this might actually be a breakthrough. Looking at the rear brake calipers, you can see the outer pad here. It's got this nice clip. The clip is a bit rusty, but you can kind of grab on to the outer brake pad here from this lip here, and this is solid, so this isn't causing any rattling. But look at the inboard. Here we go. But look at the inboard, and here's the same tab. I pick that up, and I can see I can move that around. That's not good. That probably shouldn't do that. So I might be onto something here. It's pretty interesting to note that it does this on the left side and the right side both, and it creates noise when you lift the pad or drop the pad, which is exactly the kind of case that occurs when this entire rear suspension is dropping into a pothole or, over a crack or something like that. That's when that noise happens, is that vertical movement, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm moving this pad up and down. These pads are pretty new, which upsets me a little bit because it would suck to have to replace these new pads just because they don't seat in the calipers very well. But most pads should come with clips, especially on the side that actually connects with the piston or pistons of the caliper. There should be a clip on this inboard brake pad that clips into the piston so that it doesn't move around like this. Now, either it did not come with that clip in the first place, or the clip needs adjusted. Maybe the prongs need to be pulled out so that it fits this caliper piston better. Either way, we're going to have to take both of these apart and see if that can fix it. But I think this might be it. So we've got the rear left caliper off. You can see I've got it bungeed around the rear shock here, and if I get in a little closer, you can see that inboard pad is totally off, not connected to the piston at all. It's just
floating free in space. I'm not sure why the installer thought that would be a good idea. Still a lot of meat on these pads. I mean, these are good pads. I don't want to just throw them away, so I'm going to have to find... well, first I'm going to have to take the pad out, the inboard pad out, which means disassembling more of this caliper. But more importantly, finding a clip or some other mechanism, maybe some RTV, I don't know, to make this pad adhere to the piston so it doesn't flop around like this anymore. But I'm feeling good about this so far because I think this is the most progress I've had on solving the Rattle. It certainly sounds like the Rattle. This needs to be done not just on the passenger side, the right side of the car, but also the left side of the car as well. Yeah, if I, and thinking back to when I disassembled the rear end of this car to do some subframe work and some work on the gas tank straps, which I thought were the original source of the Rattle, I do remember these flopping around, and I think it's just a matter of the original installer not doing due diligence to make sure that these are going to be secured to the piston. I mean, of course they're going to flop around like that. So, again, going to disassemble this a little bit more, take this pad out, and sort of investigate what my options are. But it's looking good so far, so I'm happy with this. What we have here is an inboard brake pad for this car. A big issue with this is you can see there's kind of this nub here in the middle, and there's nothing attached to it. What's meant to attach here to this nub is a clip that will keep this firmly attached to the piston itself. So I'm going to investigate some options, but this is, bad news, but it's also good news because we are getting closer to a solution for that annoying Rattle. So, great. I am back from AutoZone, and I think I got some parts that are going to work well for this application. First off, these are the old brake pads. A lot of meat left on these old brake pads for the rear, and that's kind of unfortunate because the only problem with these pads was that the inboard or the inside pad had this tab for a clip that's meant to fit inside of the piston of the brake caliper so it doesn't rattle around, and that's obviously missing. And it's not quite clear where to get a replacement for those. I've searched high and low. Best case scenario, I could find one and maybe it'd arrive at my house in a week or two. But I think the idea here is that you're supposed to take your old clip from your old brake pads and put them on here. Most of your higher end brake pads will already have a clip installed to fit inside the piston of your brake caliper. And that's the case with these ones that I got. So these are Duralast brand brake pads, and but this is the higher end pads that they offer, and these ones specifically are advertised as being kind of made out of carbon. Here's all the facts on the back. It says carbon fiber technology. So opening them up, this is what we got here. We have array of brake pads for the rear, and more importantly, this is the inside pad. An old GT logo there, but this looks like a fairly substantial clip that should fit right into the piston. You can also bend these out if they don't fit quite as well. And I guess is the added benefit of these are, carbon brakes, or carbon ceramic brakes, or something like that. Most of the reviews I've heard of these pads do show, an increased stopping performance off of, more, medium grade or lower grade pads. These cost about $80-ish. Also, they threw in some brake lubricant to help stop brake noise, And these also came with the outside clips. These tend to rust. The ones that were on the car before were in excellent condition and working just fine, but these are nice and thick and shiny, and I might just pop these ones on instead. Anyway, so I'm going to pop these on to the caliper here, and let's see how that goes.
The brakes are clipped in, the wheels are torqued down. All that's left is to fire this baby up. Let's see if this works.
You gonna try to make it clunk?
I haven't heard anything yet, have you?
Take it around.
Let's see if this works.
Your internet friends will be so happy.
They will be amazed. This will be amazing! I'm driving around. I'm hearing the motor. I'm hearing the birds. I'm hearing the wind. I am not hearing that rattle as much. I've replaced the rear shocks. I've replaced the rear shock mounts. I've replaced rear trailing arm bushings and rear subframe bushings. I have replaced the gas tank straps. I added rear subframe reinforcements. I replaced the differential bushing. None of that fixed the rattle. What fixed the rattle was a pair of $70 brake pads. Go figure. I'm glad it was brake pads and not something much more serious. I am very happy. I can't believe that worked. Oh, wow. It's like a different car. This is a lot more quiet. This is much better. It sounds so much better.
Are you happy?
I'm very happy.
Yeah.
Like it was embarrassing before. So that fixed the rattle coming from the brakes in the rear of the car, but it turns out that there are other things contributing to that noise as well. I did ultimately fix those, but that's going to have to wait for another installment of this adventure. In the meantime, I'd like to thank you for joining me, and we'll see you down the road.